Why do some people never truly grow up? Why do some people never truly become adults? I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. For the most part, it really is just the environment and how everything that is set up for them is actually pushing forward and uplifting that behavior that isn't really truly making them an adult, right? Maybe it's reducing the responsibilities they have, maybe it's reducing the accountability they have, and people uplift that and their environment uplifts that, and so they never truly grow up or become real adults, responsible for their actions and accountable for their own deeds. Now, everybody knows that this is a problem because what ends up happening is if somebody isn't really becoming an adult anymore, even though they're growing up, basically what they're doing is their maturity is capping out at a certain level, and it isn't helping them become a fully fledged productive member of society. I watched a video this morning which was quite interesting, and it was about like this fantasy story, I guess, where this really capable guy from the suburbs, or like I guess you could, at the time you would call him more of like a peasant, I guess you could call him. So this peasant owned a sword training skill dojo or whatever the fuck in the countryside, right? And so he was apparently the strongest, and this guy's very humble, right? He's very orientated towards living a very country type of lifestyle, a rural type of lifestyle, very minimalistic and everything. And so, and one day, this young guy, and he's like probably in his 30s, I'd say, and in getting close to his 40s, and he's training at the dojo, he's training the students, he's training everybody. It's kind of like, I guess it's kind of like, you could say, Japanese dojo, like sword fighting, like with like katanas and whatever. So basically what happens was, he is apparently in the country the most renowned sword master, like trainer, basically. And basically what happens is, and I just noticed, I just caught myself saying that I keep fucking saying basically over and over again. So if you want to have fun, you can put like a basically counter on the side of the screen, and every single time I say it, you just increase it by 1. But regardless, let's go back to the story. So this guy basically this guy trains at the dojo, and he trains his students, right? And one day, one of the students is actually this guy from this noble house, right? He's like an aristocrat. He's a noble, and the dojo master doesn't actually pick up on this and doesn't actually know that this guy's a noble, so he just treats him like everybody else, right? And the nobleman actually, well, is a kid at the time, right? He's actually quite satisfied with being treated like he's treated, like everybody else is treated. Like, he doesn't want to be treated like a noble. He wants to be trained like purely as a fighter, like everybody else, right? That has responsibility and accountability and whatnot. And so he goes through the training, and everything's good and all. And the nobleman actually becomes a very good, prominent sword fighter, and he does his training every day, even when he leaves the dojo and he goes back to his noble life as an aristocrat. He always does his sword training in the morning, like he was taught at the dojo, right? A couple of years go by, and one day the nobleman invites the dojo master to his house, and the dojo master's like, why the fuck am I getting invited? Like, what the fuck is this shit? Like I'm just a peasant, right? Like, why the fuck am I don't know any nobles. Like, what the fuck? So he goes to this noble's house and he's like, hello, like, what the fuck's going on? Why am I being invited? And the noble says, hey, like welcome, like I have somebody I'd like you to meet. And the guy's like, wait, didn't you train at my dojo? And he's like, yeah, that's right, da da da. And they go about talking about the story and everything, and then they go inside, and there's this, like, they open the door, and there's this very beautiful young lady, which the dojo master's like, okay. And the young lady presents herself as the nobleman's sister, and she basically offers herself in marriage to the dojo master, because he's like getting to his 40s and he's never been married, he's never had a girlfriend before, and and the dojo master's like, what the fuck, like, huh? Like, why the fuck is a noble woman proposing to me? Like, what the fuck is happening? And so I found that interesting because it really reflects the story of this guy, this dojo master, right? This guy who trained his entire life to become like a master swordsman. And he is like the epitome of like being a super skilled sword fighter, and he's trained so many people, and he's such a capable, and like he's basically a capable provider. He's capable, he's got accountability, and he's got the responsibility of all of his students, right? And so that taught me, and that very story made me realize that actually, you know what? That is exactly what a lot of people are missing today. They don't have responsibility, they don't have accountability, they don't have capability, they don't have competence, they don't have skill, they don't have prowess. They don't seek to become the best at something, right? And this is a problem because in this case, the woman who proposed, so the noble woman, the noble's sister who proposed to the dojo master, proposed to him because she heard from her brother, this guy's really capable, this guy's handsome, this guy's really capable, this guy's responsible, this guy, he has a lot of good characteristics and character traits that a wife would want to have for her husband, right? Especially somebody of that criteria, which is she's a noble woman. So social appearances are extremely important in that like realm, right? So in this case, if you were to take the example of and put yourself in the shoes of of the dojo master, then in that case you need to train as hard, if not harder, as the dojo master, not only in your physical ability but also in your discipline to actually become capable at a let's say a high income skill, or you could replace this with anything. You could become a really professional trainer, you could really become an ambitious, driven guy that is super focused on this skill, that he's super good at it. Instead of becoming a jack of all trades in like a million different skills, you just focus on being good at really good at one thing, right? In this case, he's very good at teaching, he's very good at sword fighting, and he's very good at disciplining other people and being responsible for them. So when you combine all of that, it not only makes sense for a noble woman to marry this guy, she also doesn't, like, she basically picks him herself, and she also picks him because he's a good candidate that would make sense to marry into the noble people's line, right? Because the nobles care a lot about lineage, right? This is where marriage comes from. Marriage comes from because people in certain families had lineages and had things to pass down onto their kids, and that isn't necessarily 100% true anymore today, because basically before, the peasants never got married because it didn't fucking make any sense, because they didn't have anything to pass down really that important other than the land, so they didn't really care. On the other hand, the nobles would always get married and have this huge ceremony and whatever every time. So in this case, This guy, who's the number one sword trainer of the entire country, he gets married to this noble woman. In this case, the noble people's family get a strategic advantage in the political scene of the country because he's married into their family, right? So in this case, it made me realize how the dynamics of not only men and women, and how usually back in the day, the women would always pick the men. Like basically, like if you look at any animal species, for the most part, the women pick the men and the men don't get to pick the women, which is completely upside down. In today's society, the men pick the women. As humans, the men go out and they say, okay, this one's interesting, I want to go and talk to her, I want to see if she's actually a good candidate, and then the men see if they want to marry the chick. But in the animal kingdom, for the most part, the women pick the men and then go sleep with them, and then boom, babies. There you go. So interestingly, human society has evolved in a very interesting way, in a very particular way that is very counter to the animal kingdom itself, because we are intelligent beings and we get to rationally detach from things and we get to actually think. So this is very interesting and important to understand. The problem with men today that don't really grow up or don't really become adults is because they don't have this virtue of responsibility and ownership of their actions. And like at the time, this noble woman in the story proposed to the dojo master not for her own sake, even though she did enjoy the fact that he was a very capable man, a good man, a righteous man, whatever. She proposed to him first because she has a duty to her family as a noble woman, right? And this is something that we don't really have anymore. This sense of collectivity, like this sense of community, this sense of doing what's best for the collective and not for yourself. Like basically putting the collective first before you put yourself. And this is not only true in the dating scene, but it's also true in the work scene, in the providing scene, in literally any type of scene or market or whatever you want to call it. People today are way too obsessed with themselves, and they're not obsessed enough with providing for their family, providing for their loved ones, and creating something that actually matters and that is actually foundationally stable and at its core benefiting for all the people within it. So you then think for yourself, okay, how do we apply this story to today's society? Well, first and foremost, people need to take accountability and responsibility for what they're doing, because the problem is nobody is truly educated to go learn a specific craft, become a master builder, become a master carpenter, become a master clothes maker, whatever it may be, right? Nobody does that anymore. For the most part, it's kind of like a lost craft. But today, people, what do people do today? They go to school, and then they go get a job, and then they work their job until they make enough money, or they retire, or they go from job to job, and then whoop-de-doo, right? And so this is a problem because it doesn't breed the kind of people that would actually care about what they're doing. You don't really care about your job when you're just doing it for the money. It's like being a mercenary, right? If you're a hired gunman and somebody tells you, hey, I'm gonna pay you $500 to go take care of this guy, you just have to intimidate him, then you're just gonna do it for the money. Don't really care. Hey, I'm gonna pay you $5 million to go kill this guy. All right, well, easy peasy. Don't really need to think about who the guy is. We just need to get rid of him, and then get the money, and then you go on to something else. So it really is the job market today has really just cut out the entirety of the honor system, the pride system, and the respect system for what is to be done whenever you do something. Like whenever you have work, whenever you have a craft, whenever, like, you don't really see any master artisans anymore, like master builders, master engineers, master architects. You don't really see this anymore. You just have this amalgamation, which is the job market, which makes people less competent, which means the women feel like, this guy sucks now. Like, the average guy sucks. I don't want to be with the average guy. And so this has created hypergamy. Women always cared about having somebody at the top, right? Like, women have always wanted to be with the best guy, to be with the best match there is, because that's what they care about. Because if they're going to restrict themselves to one individual person, if they are the ones choosing, then in that case, they'll always choose the best option there is. And if there's something better, they'll just divert and go to that better option. But if they were thinking about the collective instead of thinking about themselves, they would pick someone and stick with them even if he's not the best. If he's the best that they can find right now, they'll go with him and they'll stay with him. That's how it works. So what you need to think for yourself is, how do I become the kind of man? How do I grow up into the kind of man that my future wife that I would want would choose me over somebody else? How do I become the best character? How do I improve my skills? How do I improve my characteristics, my character traits, my competency as a man? How do I become better at providing for her and taking care of her and making sure that she's able to raise the kids in a good environment that I've chosen? That's basically how I think about things, and I've been thinking about it for quite some time now. And it's actually quite interesting how society's changed all of this, right? May it be working hard to get paid, or may it be the dating market where you get to pick and choose who you want to be with. It's very individual now. It's completely non-collective anymore. Like, sure, you might work with X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, you don't work one job for like 50 years. You work a job for like some time, then you change jobs, and you change jobs, and you change jobs, and there you go. So if you want to grow up, if you want to get out of your comfort zone, you already know what you have to do. You have to become the kind of man that gives a shit, that cares, that is always doing something in order to improve his skill, his competency. And some people just have just stopped doing this. It's sad to say, but the fog has thickened. Funny because there's fog in the background, but the fog has thickened when it comes to figuring out how to become the best man. So it is your, I guess it is your duty to take up the torch and walk through the fog until you find the other end, the exits, the checkpoints. It's kind of like walking through the dark blind with a torch in hand and trying to figure out like where to go. And as soon as you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you already have some sense of direction and you're already on the right path. This video has been more, I guess, abstract and vague, but this is something I really wanted to talk about because in today's society, like, I go out there, I go on the street, and I see people, and they're so mediocre. It's actually quite disappointing. Like, all of these people could get together and do better, but they choose not to, because blissful ignorance is better than taking and doing hard things. So with that said, if these are the kinds of topics that you want to be more aware of and get more ideas about in order to do better and to become a more respected man in today's society, then in that case I urge you to like, comment, subscribe. You can unsubscribe at any point. That's entirely up to you. And I appreciate all the support so far. We are at 190 subscribers. It's very small, but I do really appreciate it nonetheless. And with that said, it's a beautiful another beautiful day. It doesn't matter if there's fog in the background. It's a beautiful day because the sun is out, even if it's shining through the clouds. So it's time to get back to work. And with that said, I will see you tomorrow as I post one video every single day. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.